What is going on, Lunatic Fringe? I told you a storm is coming. We haven't seen it break out yet. It hasn't really affected Luna Classic yet, but we're starting to see it in the market. Now listen, a couple of days ago, the markets dipped down to about 2.49 trillion in market cap. And really, for a lot of people, it looked like the bull run was maybe over, that maybe we just weren't going to get whatever we thought we were going to get. But here we are today. The market just hit 2.76 trillion, which means that we're up, nearly $300 billion over the last, let's call it 8 or 9 days. And now it's starting to feel good. And we're going to look at the charts and figure out where we're going to go from here. But I can assure you that we are in not necessarily that banana zone, but we are in that upward momentum zone. And it's only a matter of time before Luna Classic starts to get some of that price discovery. Now, why is that the case? Well, at this moment, Bitcoin's running super hard, Solana's running super hard, Ethereum is running super hard. That means that money is trickling into the market. First, by way of Bitcoin, and second, by way of the two major altcoins that are currently active. As far as new users, as far as engagement, those are the three bigs right now, and they're starting to run. Now, when that happens, what happens for you? Well, that means that your bag gets a little bit fuller. Once your bag gets a little bit fuller, the next step from there is you take that money out and you start to find yourself some other altcoins, some other risks, and everybody starts to do it. And then when they start to do it, guess what? That's the banana zone. That's the altcoin scene. And it looks like we are on a collision course with it right now. Now listen, the fact that it's obvious should be cause for concern because a lot of us here are expecting it. But here's the thing, most people are not expecting it. We, as what you would call insiders, we kind of look at it with a different lens than people who are neophytes. And I think what we're looking at and what we're seeing sometimes, it doesn't always equate. Like we don't always just, we don't get that big feeling that it's going down or that big feeling that it's going to pump. And it's just because we're a little bit more savvy. That's all it means. However, for neophytes, they think that something's wrong, that the market's fundamentally broken or something like that. And when they see that it's not, FOMO builds up and they're like, I want to get in. And then everything starts to rock. So if you haven't already, hit the like button on your way in and let's talk about what is going on. Before we get started, Trobits is doing an upgrade today. If you haven't already, go check it out. Of course, this is ad supported only. So if you want to help burn Luna Classic, right there, it is one of the easiest things that you can. This is the easiest way for you to contribute in all of crypto to burn Luna Classic at this point. So if you would, go to trobits.com today. On the Commonwealth, there's really just one discussion so far that there's, as far as proposals, there's no proposals currently. But the discussions, there's two. One is for $50,000 to Terraport DEX, $25,000 in USDC. Remember, we want the off-ramp, and then the other one is $25,000 in LUNC equivalent. So that should come up for a vote at some point. But the other one that's really important right now is the strategic validation of the EUTC repeg white paper. This is repegging USTC to the EUTC at like 1.1 euro, 1 penny. I don't even know, but I couldn't. You guys will know more than. But the connection, I don't care whether it's a US dollar or a euro, just repeg it and let's make something happen here. So discussions are being held right now. 7 comments. I suggest you go read it and go through it. Decide for yourself if this is something that you. As far as meme coins go, not a lot to talk about today. Just some downward momentum. However, you might notice that some of the market was just kind of. It feels like yesterday was a profit-taking day on Luna Classic. You got a little bit of a surge up to around 4063, and then you've got this retracement back down to 061. Not a huge movement, okay? While the rest of the market is moving. But here's the other part to that. If you're frustrated, you're not going to make it anyway. But if you are not frustrated and you're like, you know what? Yeah, now we're seeing something happen right here and you understand what's going on fundamentally, then you're probably like me, very, very excited. So we're going to look at the chart in just a moment, but meme coins just not really moving too much today. You can see Juris down 5%, Garuda X down 3.5%. Now I say that and I'm saying meme coins. You know what I mean when I'm on Coin Hall. It's not necessarily meme coins. There are utility coins out here, but this is our wallet. So speaking of meme coins, looks like J Money might be getting to a spot to be unbonded. Look over here, by the way, at what happened to that Lunatics token, you can see this one kind of, look, to me, scam. And not the Lunatics, by the way. This was not the Lunatics. I was reached out by somebody who said that, somebody Lunatics token, they did this, and here's what they did. They threw in 124, 124, 124. They kept doing. You come down here and you see that they started to pump their own bags, and they pumped and they pumped and they pumped about $800. And then, anytime it slowed down, they were not involved, right? So all you had was this big surge of buys, big surge of buys, and then boom, you started to see the eggs there. So, and they made about $2,300. I mean, that's all I can say. When you're an open source, these things are going to happen. It is imperative upon you to know who it is that you're doing business with. So when you come to Terra Pump, just know that there is a risk, just like pump.fun. There is an inherent risk in everything, and you should go with something that you blame. Frag was launched. Rakoff was launched by people that we know they got out of the bonding process very, very quickly. J Money, I think, like I told you before, I think that he's the creator here, and I think he's kind of pumping his bag. But I don't care. You know what I mean? I just don't want to see it rug or anything like that. Now, speaking of which, peas at 6 cents, El Pepe at about 6 cents, Bleef's down here at 3 cents. So, guys, if you want to get in on any of these, and as I told you guys yesterday, I took out another 404,000, I want to say, Luna Classic off of it, so that my bag is back to where it was at the start. Now, I am, by the way, still one of the top 5 holders. I've de-risked myself here to holding about 44.7 million tokens. So, and by the way, just to give you guys some clarity here, if I were to sell right now, I would take home 1.2 million Luna Classic. So that's not 1.2 million is, I mean, what, $60, $70. So we're not in this for a huge amount. Now, if it goes up 10x from here or something like that, I'll probably take out 1.2 million or something like that. But at this point, see what happens. All right, guys, and now it's price action time. Let's kind of check this out and see where we are. So, as you can see, yesterday was a nice little rip. We started to get this run, went up to 4063.42-ish. Where are we at here? 63.21. Didn't go up to the top of this range, so I don't think that we're done. Now, in the event that we're calling it, and we're calling it, of course, if we're going to call it, we're going to say it's an Elliott wave at this point, because everything is pretty much an Elliott wave at this point. So, if we get that, move, then I would expect that this is probably the end result of that move. Very small move. This is on the 1-day time frame, so expect to see something 4067 at that point, and then I'll give you an idea of what to do next. But my impression here is this is not your entry position, so I would not be entering. This box right here seems to be pretty solid. So you come down here, you broke out above, but then it looks like you kind of got this little resistance along the range. You bounced down in here, you bounced up here, you bounced down here. It just seems to me like the next move here is going to be up to the top of this range. Now, the one thing that I do want to point out is if you look over here, there's a relative sort of resistance that you were kind of sitting in as the range, and it just broke out of that range potentially. This is a short term, by the way. This is short term. Broke out, came back in, so we didn't have a confirmed breakout, so we may still be working on getting out of that position. Now, breaking this down a little bit further out here, then of course it does look like we did break out, but we're breaking out to the side. If you look at it from this context, it looks like we broke out a couple days ago, and of course it stands to reason when you look at it from the top of that right there. You see it hit right there. That's a back test. And by the way, when something breaks out sideways, it just means that there's no big motivating factor, right? Other than, you came down this way, you broke down, and now you're starting to pump back up. So, I think we're still, we're still in a good spot. I don't think that there's anything fundamentally wrong, other than what we already know. I mean, so, next move, again, 67. What I would like to see at that point would be a breakout above, boom, get a nice little test here, and then get into this little range right here. And listen, that's not going to set your bag on fire. That's not going to make a big difference to you. Ultimately, what's going to make the big difference to you is going to be this whole move continuation all the way up to the top of that range. That's going to be a 3x, a nice little tidy sum for you if that's going to be your goal. Now, at that point, that would be where I'm going to start making decisions about what I'm going to do at that point, because I would think that there's two things. Number one, you get a confirmed breakout above. You get a breakout above, then we're going to start talking about these higher highs up here. If you don't get it and you get a successful, you're going to get a dip no matter what. But if that dip gets caught right about here and we get above that, if we get breakout velocity right there, then, we'll get a nice breakout. That's kind of the way this works. So watching to see what happens over the, as far as volume goes, we're up just a tiny bit, nothing to write home about. Again, same thing on USTC, nothing to write home about, but we are up on the day. And as far as the rest of the market goes, just kind of looking around, there's not really a whole lot of great information of any kind of big fundamental changes. We do want to get into Leonardo and what's going on over there with this ceramic token, Clay. We're going to start looking around for that. And, he's got a lot of theory here, and we're going to talk about some of this game theory in the next couple. As far as burns go, 156 million. Again, we're just really down, and today is not helping either. Just not a lot of volume. I can tell you this, in about 9 days, Binance can do another burn, and I don't expect it to be very much at all. 400 million if we're lucky, 500 million, incredibly fortunate, but I don't think that it's going to be very much. I think it's really going to be more like 300 million, which, we want 2 billion every week. And, when Binance gives us 2 billion for a week, kind of gives us a good start. But at this point, we need 50 million in volume per day, not 10 million in volume per day to make something like that happen. So it's going to be kind of a struggle. Terra Casino, I'm going to confirm the winners. It's going to be Fridays and today's. So, I'm going to go check that out, and we'll have a winner. 2 winners have won $100. And then finally, if you want to trade, remember, I gave this to you the other day, but I am staking my Terra right now, 11,104. And I got a few rewards. Now, remember, the amount of APR on it is much smaller than it was previous. And then for that long-term hold, like that's not my play. My play is going to be a shorter-term HODL process and maybe take profit along the way in the event that there's something to take profit on. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep folding it over and holding. And do I want to miss out on 14% rewards or something like that? No, of course I don't want to miss out on the rewards, but I also don't want to be obligated 5 days for that lock process. And that's just me personally. So, by the way, we should probably start to pay attention to some of these unlocks waiting for, I don't know why some of these are sold out, this 14-day sellout thing. I haven't seen it come available at any point or at any time. So I don't know what the number is there, but, significantly bigger rewards. So we'll see how this all plays out. So that's it. That's your update. I do suspect that we're going to see a nice little run. Again, we've got a surge to 65 billion that we're up on today. That's a big number. We need to see that every single day for a month to get back up into the 3.74. Now, I do want to say, I do think that the next impulse move is going to be 4.4 trillion market cap. Now, that is big. That's 700 billion more than what we've had so far. That does not, by the way, mean that we're going to get a gigantic altcoin season, but we will get some really good altcoin movement, in my opinion. But I think we're going to need about 125,000 Bitcoin at that point, and we need the most important thing at this point. We need a $4,000 Ethereum. That's I think, in my opinion, that's the kicker, and that's the tie that binds everything. That's what's holding everything down. We need Solana back up in that 300 range. We need Ethereum in that 4,000 range. Then we can start talking about some money cascading back down. But we got to see that surge first, and we are about 6 weeks away from what I think is going to be a monumental announcement, and that is the SEC approving the Ethereum ETF staking protocol. Now, that's kicked back to June 1st. So again, we have about 6 weeks before that happens. But in the meantime, we're probably going to get a rate cut. There's a lot of different things that are happening that are going to be incredibly bullish for this market. Gold's trading at an all-time high. There's a lot of things to like right now about where this market is heading. But if you don't believe me, do your own research and figure it out for yourself, because this is not financial advice, and I'm always right. If you want to support me and you want to support the channel, the best thing that you can do is trade every day on Weeks, Luna Classic, or on KCEX for any other cryptos that you have. Those guys are big supporters of my channel, and they help me out tremendously. Both are non-KYC, which means that you don't have to compromise your privacy in order to trade on those platforms. We'll talk to you again very, very soon.